Jack saw Highlanders fall in ones and twos, most to rise and stagger onward, some with horrendous facial wounds from the Ashanti slugs, others holding limbs or trunk where dark blood seeped through the sweat-stained grey cloth. Despite the casualties, the remainder never faltered, pushing the Ashantis back yard by hard-won yard. "Follow my orders, C Company," Jack beckoned to the bugler. "Listen for the regimental calls." He inched forward, checking his men, firing whenever he thought he saw the enemy. A new outbreak of musketry erupted from the left.
"The Ashantis are still trying to outflank us,"
a hard-faced Highland major shouted. The 42nd Companies on the left flank immediately shifted their attack to the front.
"We can't get through the bastards that way,"
one tousle-haired corporal roared, tying a handkerchief around an arm that streamed with blood.
"So let's go right down their throat. Come on, the 43!
Hefting his rifle, he plunged into the bushes, snapped a shot, loaded, swore when a slug sliced at his leg, and carried on with the red hackles of his men bobbing in his wake.
"That's the way, Rab!"
Sergeant McGaw roared, ignoring the blood that soaked his uniform.
"Show them your cap badge, 43! Take the bayonet to them!"
"Keep going, 2nd Wests," Jack shouted. "Follow the Highlanders!" Taking a deep breath, Jack plunged forward. He knew his men were behind him, saw a flicker of movement to his right and left as the Black Watch forced their way on, stepped over the slowly writhing body of a wounded Highlander, and shouted again. "This way, the Wests!" Jack knew the British musketry must be taking effect, but for every Ashanti the Highlanders and West Indians shot, half a dozen took their place, so resistance stiffened as they pushed up the hill. Jack swore as a slug hammered into a tree he sheltered behind, ducked as something hummed through the air above his head, and fired at a gush of smoke a few yards to his left. He had been in a score of battles, from Pegu in 1852 and Inkerman to the Ridgeway fight Canada, but he swore he had never experienced such a volume of fire as in that African forest. Even when Wolseley sent a company of rifles to reinforce the 42nd, the British were losing men for every 5 yards of ground they gained. The advance stalled, with panting Highlanders glaring uphill and the rifles and Wests exchanging Snider bullets for Ashanti slugs as the battle reached its crucial point. "We're losing too many men," Hop Pringle said. "It's not finished yet." Jack ducked as a dozen shots screamed overhead. "Those were Snider bullets. We're firing at ourselves."
"Here's the artillery coming,"
Captain Moore of the Rifles said. "Give the gunners covering fire," Jack ordered. Although the 42nd and Rifles had advanced a considerable distance up the slope, the Ashantis still managed to harass Rate's artillerymen. Busily firing at the enemy, Jack had little time to watch as the Houses and Royal artillerymen manoeuvred their steel 9-pounder across the swamp and river. The men struggled, sweat trickling down their faces as they pushed the cannon, flinching as Ashanti slugs rattled off the gun barrel, swearing to manoeuvre reluctant wheels through clinging mud.
"That's hard work for the gunners,"
Moore said. "Support the artillery," Jack yelled. "Keep these blasted Ashanti musketmen down." When he reached a relatively flat area, Rate stepped clear of the gun, ignored the Ashanti slugs, and scanned the hillside. Noting a dense patch of forest where the Ashanti gunsmoke was thickest, he aimed his 9-pounder. The Hausa gun crew were smart, loading in seconds and firing at once. Jack saw the case shot rip into the trees again and again, as Rate altered the angle of aim slightly each time. When the artillery fire ceased, a company of the 42nd charged forward, bayonets fixed and the pipes screaming in support. "Come on, 2nd West!" Jack rose from his cover. "Follow the Black Watch!" The West Indians advanced without hesitation, scrambling up the slope as slugs tore leaves from the trees and hammered into the ground.
"Go on, the Westies!"
A wounded Black Watch private shouted encouragement.
"Give them hell!"
By the time Jack's men arrived, there was nobody left to fight. The bayonets of the 42nd had completed the artillery's work, with shattered Ashanti bodies scattered around and a lone Black Watch private